Great Demon, buddy, are you even going to have any good characters to use next season? I mean, we're only on episode 4, and you've already used so many great ones like Ryuko and Bayonetta and Calamaria, the Giga Mermaid, Peacock, Cuphead. Hell, you're using Frank West right now. Honestly, you are leaving no good characters for next season. But for reals, let's talk about Frank West versus Booker. Now, based on the amount of Frank West fights I've done, the amount of Frank West fights I have planned, the videos I've put up about Frank West, the gameplay I'm providing to you, and even the research I'm giving to the Great Demon on Frank West, I have to, I mean, it's pretty obvious, I'm siding with Frank West in this fight. Now, this isn't to say it's going to be an easy fight for Frank. Far from it. Booker has survived a fall from above the clouds into the ocean, and their strength should be about equal at large building. They've both dodged bullets and lightning before. So while Booker's definitely more durable, they're about even in all the other stats, until you look at some of Frank's better items. He's got stat-boosting smoothies that allow him to take stat leads and edges in other areas, and he can eat and drink pretty much anything to heal health back. So Frank definitely has ways of keeping up with Booker's superior durability, and even surpassing him in some of the stats that they would be previously even in. No, the real deciding factor in this is, can Booker keep up with Frank's unpredictable arsenal and just ridiculously endless creativity and imagination? And can Frank deal with Frank's vigors and guns? Well, the answer is, well, let's find out. For one, Frank can deal with Booker's guns easily. He's had to deal with psychos before who use guns all the time, and Frank has used guns himself. I mean, he's covered wars, you know. So those bullets and guns aren't going to do too much unless he pulls out something ridiculous like a bazooka or a minigun, which I know Booker does have some sort of chain gun, but he can only carry 2 guns at a time. Now, the vigors are definitely where Frank is going to struggle the most. You have things like the murder of crows, the Book and Bronco, the fireballs, you've got a water tentacle that pulls in enemies, but some of those he's more than ready to deal with. For one, the murder of crows, Frank West is a horde fighter. He fights hordes of zombies and psychos at the same time, so he's more than capable of taking on more than one target at a time. Then we have to look at things like the water tentacle that pulls in enemies and stuns them. Problem is, Frank West is a melee fighter. If he's to pull in Frank West, he's ended himself. That's his funeral, which is another important part of this battle. Booker is a very much far-range fighter, whereas Frank is very much melee fighting. It's not to say that either can't do both, but Frank West is much more akin to melee, whereas Booker's much more akin to far range. So then there's even more to pick apart in this fight when you look at the weapons. So yeah, I already mentioned most of what Booker has to offer. I mean, there are other vigors that I'm not fully aware of what they do. Oh, there is a possession one, which I don't think that's going to work on Frank West for one reason and one reason only. Frank West was once turned into a zombie, but instead of being the mindless zombies that you murder in that game, he had full consciousness. Yeah, I don't think possession's going to work too well on someone who is fully conscious and aware of what they were doing as a zombie and had full control of their body. So, weaponry-wise, Frank West definitely has enough to trick up poor Booker. Not only does he have melee skills of his own, ranging from MMA to boxing to wrestling, but he also has weapons like the chainsaw paddle, a freaking buzzsaw launcher, a lightsaber, a laser gun. He's got a firework minigun. He's got a broom with a machete taped to it. He's got flaming cow skulls he can wear. He's got shotguns with pitchforks taped to him. He's got an electric hammer that's like Mjolnir, but with like a longer handle so you don't look like a dipshit. He's got weapons ranging from all sorts of shit that Booker is not ready for. Not to say he can't adapt to it, but there's no way he can adapt to so many weapons all at once. And I did mention earlier, Booker can only hold 2 guns. Frank can hold so many of his weapons at a time, and mix that in with his stat-boosting smoothies and magazines, and he's ready for this fight. Plus, you get into things like the Capcom Heroes arcade machine, the exosuits, where Frank can launch out ice tornadoes, use ebony and ivory being Dante's pistols, along with the Rebellion sword, straight up use all of Morgan's from Darkstalker's like entire moveset, or just turn into like Ryu and shoot a Hadoken, or turn into fucking Akuma and Raging Demon his ass and destroy his soul. So yeah, Frank's got ways around dealing with Booker's superior durability, and Frank's arsenal is way too unpredictable for Booker to adapt to literally everything in there. So with incredibly high difficulty, I have to give it to Frank West. I'd say he wins this at least 5.5, if not 6 out of 10 times.